Eddy, it would be great if you could give us a brief introduction, who you are, what are you doing?
Well, right now, at the present time, I work at a restaurant. We're not going to mention the name of the restaurant, obviously, but I am a retired...
You can.
No, but I'm a retired police officer. I worked in the city of New York for 22 years, from the early 80s to the mid 90s, and basically, that's it.
So you are born New Yorker?
I'm a born New Yorker. I was born and raised in New York City. Bellevue Hospital, 27th Street and 1st Avenue. Don't let that influence you.
No. Okay, so Occupy Wall Street, what does it mean personally to you? Have you been watching it? I
have been following it. I have been following it. I mean, this is like, it reminds me of kind of the revolution of the 60s. But this is a little more organized. Remember back in the 60s when we would protest? We would remember that. So to me, it's just, it's something...
Look to me,
yeah,
please,
I'm sorry.
otherwise.
It's about a bunch of young people that are trying to make a change for the better. But this is their beliefs. We all have different opinions. I have an opinion. I mean...
what is your opinion, if I may ask?
No, you could absolutely ask. I mean, my opinion is I'm always... You know, Wall Street is good. I mean, that might sound crazy to you, but I mean, we are all individuals. So I mean, who am I to say you can't make a certain? I don't care how much money you make. If it's $1 billion, if it's $1 million, you're making it. You're working for it. You get up early in the morning. You've taken the chance, the risk. No one has ever. You know, you make your own decisions. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So I mean, again, I'm all forgiving, obviously. But you know, there's a certain fine line about when it comes to giving, because when does it stop? You know, it's like, for instance, you give a cat a little bit of milk one day, and he's going to continue coming day after day after day. That's no good either. You know?
Yeah.
You have to try to be self-sufficient. But the thing with Wall Street, what bothers me is that the police are being asked to do something very difficult, I think, in my mind, as an ex-police officer. I mean, we all have feelings, you know, I mean, I have my feelings and we all have different opinions. And my opinion is they're in between. You know, I mean, it's like, for instance, I'll give you a perfect example. It's like if you're a marshal and you're evicting someone from their home. I'm sure the marshal feels like crap when he does that, but that's his job, he has to do it. You know, he goes home, he might feel like crap, he might drink himself to death or whatever. I mean, you might have some issues. I'm not saying mental issues, but I'm talking more of social issues. You have social issues, you know, where, you know, it's your job, but you don't like it.
This is actually what I was wondering about when I was down there now a couple of times, and to me, I was thinking, when you take this expression, the 99% and the one, actually most of the policemen or women belong to these 99%, what they are fighting for.
Absolutely.
And now wearing a uniform, they might have something to do, which they...
Where they're being asked to be an authoritative figure. See, that's the bottom line. In other words, they follow orders. It's like an army lieutenant, like they'll tell you, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, what kind of, first of all, what kind of information do you think, or will they be taught in a special way when they go into such situations? Will there be some educational programs? Will there be some social
you know, I think
conversation about this?
I think the basic thing is they want equality, they want housing for the poor, obviously. That's a big issue, especially in New York. I mean, you know, I remember 20 years ago here, for instance, in this area, you couldn't give an apartment away. You could rent an apartment 20 years ago, literally, for 50 bucks. 50 bucks. It was crime-ridden, it was drug-infested. And the difference now is that they've entirely, Giuliani did a great job in cleaning up the city. I'll give you an example, Thompson Square Park. I don't know if you're familiar. Thompson Square Park back in the 80s and 90s, if you look at the archives, there were people living in tents. It was like a Calcutta over there. You would go into the park, and you would pray if you could walk out on the other end of the park with your clothes on. And I'm being dead serious, with your life, literally. Yeah. And when he cleaned up this whole mess with the drugs and the people that were on methadone and the junkies and all that stuff, the only innocent people that I think that, and this really bothers me, are the decent people that live there and they stuck it out and they can't afford to live here anymore. That really bothers me.
Yeah.
In other words, like, let's say, for instance, if you don't live in a rent-control apartment and you pay X, let's say back then you would pay, let's just say a figure of $200. It's up to $2,500, $3,000.
Yeah. Yeah, but that, how does this attach to Wall Street?
To me, this attaches to Wall Street. It's about equality and housing. Wall Street makes record profits. Landlords, they invest their money in Wall Street.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, don't get me wrong. They have debt. They obviously have debt. You know, you have to pay taxes, city taxes. You have to pay water. I mean, the city always got their hand out. Always. I mean, with tickets and all that. That's all a sham.
Yeah. So, how do you feel as being an ex-cop about the situation down there? How do you think about your colleagues?
I'm torn. You know, I'm really torn because I can sympathize with the protesters. I really can. Yet I have to sympathize with the police officer too, because he's been put in a very precarious situation. He might have to do something that he regrets doing, like pepper spraying someone, for instance. But you know, you're protecting yourself. I mean, tensions arise, someone's going to attack you, you have to defend yourself. But that will all be avoided, if you ask me.
How could it be avoided?
I mean, to me, it could all be avoided if we could just sit and talk like human beings. And you know what? What is your problem? Let's mediate. You don't need to protest. You know, I also read in the paper where protesters are getting tons of money, supplies from people all over the world, donations. And where's this money? Where is this money right now?
Yeah.
The top organizers that organize this, that are there.
Would you say that, for example, I mean, people down there, people like you and me, if they would ring up Bloomberg, could they talk to him?
Absolutely not.
So. Absolutely not, you're saying, but how do they get the chance that their voices get heard?
Well, this is the whole process. They're trying to make enough noise where people will listen. And unfortunately, you have to be violent at times to get your message across.
I mean, the protesters aren't violent.
No, I'm just saying, it could get violent.
It could. I mean, there are always these clippers.
Yeah,
it just needs a...
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, they're not violent, but you never know.
How do you manage? How did you personally manage to walk this borderline for 20 years, being a cop, and sometimes have things to do which you don't like? I think it's a huge question.
I would do things that I wasn't proud of, but I wouldn't take it home with me. I've never gotten married because I know myself.
Because of this?
Absolutely.
But there's still time, so.
There's still time, but that's a whole other story. We don't have time.
Yeah.
But no, what I'm trying to say is that I would do the best that I can as far as being a human being first, and then a police officer.
What does this mean in a daily job? I mean, you've been
to
Brooklyn. It was a nice area there.
No, not back when I was. Back then, you had junkies, you had hookers, people living in the streets, squatters, and it just, like I said, the humanity part of it. The humane part of being a cop, it's not easy because you can get ridiculed. You have to do your job, regardless. It's like if you work at if you're a special intelligence officer and they tell you to kill the enemy. Your job is to kill. I mean, how would that make a person feel? No, I mean, a normal person, you would have to be a sociopath to a certain degree. I'm being facetious, of course, but it's hard. It's hard to do something that you really don't want to do.
Why did you decide to become a cop?
I always wanted to become one as a child. Always. I knew right away when I was about 6 years old. That's what I wanted.
Why?
The lure of it, the uniform, the prestige at the time. Basically, I always knew that was my goal. Always. Yeah. I usually got off getting bad guys. The really bad guys. It made a difference. Absolutely.
Who made a difference?
We did when we caught bad guys. Really, I'm talking about really, really bad guys. Guys that beat the living crap out of their wives, starve their children, sell their children for drugs. That was very satisfying part of the job when I caught the guy.
So the very last question would be, Eddy, where do you see this going down there at Occupy Wall Street?
Wow, where do I see this going? It's got to end. It's got to end. I mean, where I see this going is hopefully the big shots in Wall Street. You know what it's all about? They want their fair share to pay their taxes. I mean, sometimes we pay more taxes than a millionaire pays, which isn't fair. But also, you got to look at the spectrum that hey, he took the risk to become a millionaire. And just think about that for a second. You don't become a millionaire overnight. You have to take risk. Risk on. So, you know, it's a fine
It took
line.
me 50 years and I didn't become one yet.
There you go. And I'm not one yet either, you know, so. But no, but all joking aside, I mean, hopefully they'll be able to give a little more, and hopefully we'll go through programs that are needed. Housing, medical, you know, health insurance. Because the thing with that is also on the other side of the spectrum, as a cop, I'm thinking, all these programs, you have these administrators that steal the money. 90% administrative cost in some charities. Think about that for a second. For every $1 million.
Are you talking about corruption?
Absolutely. 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 Are you kidding me? Corruption.
I'm asking the next
Absolutely. Corruption. Absolutely. This is a corruption. Oh my God. Absolutely. That's a whole other kind of worms you don't want to use. Absolutely. And that's the sad part, because people raise money with good intentions. And the chairmen of the board, the corporate leaders, they just take this money for their own use.
Is there some kind of corruption going inside the police department?
I'm not going to
well?
answer that.
That's what I thought. It was a nice try, wasn't it?
I can't answer that.
Yeah, of course. So,
what do you think?
I mean,
There's corruption everywhere.
let's put it this way.
Yeah, there's corruption everywhere. I mean, let's say all these stories that we haven't heard about yet, like the motor vehicle, for instance, where you can buy your license. You can literally buy your license in the motor vehicle department if you know who to go to. That's dangerous. That's very dangerous to me.
Yeah.
You're driving a vehicle. That is extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
It's not what you know, it's who you know to get a permit. Let's say you need a permit to open up a business, a bar.
You have to know
You can throw the guy a few bucks if you know the right people. They'll give you the permit. They'll expedite matters. This is what I'm talking about, corruption at all levels of government.
Yeah.
There's corruption.
Have you been down there at Occupy Wall Street?
No.
No? You won't go? Why?
That's a great question, you know. It's not because I don't have time. I don't know. I really can't answer that.
You never thought about it?
I never really thought about it. I mean, I follow it in the news. I read it. I see the pictures.
What kind of news are you following? Traditional media, like
I
newspaper?
CNN. I read the paper. I go online.
So you check it out.
Absolutely.
What was the most compelling news for you, which you got so far?
So far, the most compelling news is the money that they're generating right now.
The protesters.
Absolutely. Not the protesters, the organizers of the protesters.
Who are the organizers of the protest?
I don't know her name, but it's this one particular individual that she runs the whole show. And they have like a council meeting on how to spend the money as far as who gets what. They can see sleeping blankets, they have all these supplies.
Yeah.
But it's this one person. It's like a corporation. It is. If you think about it, it's like a corporation where you have a board and everybody votes as to who gets what, when they get it. And the money's pouring in. Where is this money going right now?
It's a very good question to end with.
Where is the money going? In anything. You know, it's like the days of the Roman Empire, which I'm a Roman fanatic. Caesar, Augustus Julius Caesar was my favorite Roman emperor. When he conquered Gaul and he came back to Rome, he declared himself emperor for life. And they said, well, where's the gold? You're going to share this gold with us. I said, no, I'm not. I'm not going to. This is my gold. And they ended up killing him right there on the Senate floor. The history repeats its history. It's all about money. It's all about money, prestige, power. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are people there that I'm sure that have that belief, that strong belief. But you know, there's very few, I think. I mean, you can only so many people can make a change. You know.
But there is change needed. You're not arguing against this.
Absolutely not. No, there definitely is change.
Okay. So, thanks a lot, Eddy. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
I'll give you my cell phone number.
Yeah.